Daf Yomi, Tractate, Bava Batra, page 37a, top of the page, with the words Lav, Mi, Amar, Rabbi Ishmael. The Gemara explains the inference from the statement of Rabbi Ishmael and how it clarifies the opinion of the rabbis. Didn't Rabbi Ishmael say that harvesting one type of fruit is sufficient to establish the presumption of ownership for all types of fruit? In other words, for the entire field? Here too, these trees are sufficient to establish the presumption of ownership for those trees, and those trees are sufficient to establish the presumption of ownership for these trees. The Gemara notes two restrictions to the aforementioned ruling, and this statement applies specifically where the other 20 trees did not produce fruit. Eat my fruit. But if the other trees produce fruit, and he did not consume their fruit, then his conduct is not sufficient to establish the presumption of ownership with regard to the other trees. And this principle, that consuming the produce of some of the trees each year establishes the presumption of ownership for the entire field, applies only if it is the case that the trees are scattered throughout the field. Otherwise, he establishes the presumption of ownership only over the section where the trees are located. Okay. Why is it? In a case where there was a field with trees in it, and this person took possession of the trees, that person took possession of the land, Rav's Vid says this one acquired the trees, and that one acquired the land. But Rav Papa objects to this. If this is so, then the owner of the trees has no share in the land at all. Let the owner of the land say to the owner of the trees, uproot your trees, take them, and go. Rather, Rav Papa said this one acquired the trees and half of the land, and that one acquired half of the land. Cheetah. The Gemara notes it's obvious that if one sold a section of land and left the ownership of the trees in that land for himself, he has ownership of the land surrounding the trees, and this is the halacha, even according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who says one who sells generously, and he is presumed to have included in the sale even items that were not specifically specified, because that statement applies only to concerning a case such as when one sold land and retained ownership of a pit or a cistern. In that case, Rabbi Akiva ruled that he does not retain any land, but even a path to access the pit or cistern as he sold generously, including all the land in the sale. The Gemara explains it is different between the cases. That ruling applies there as the pit or cistern causes that ruling applies here as the pit or cistern causes no harm to the land surrounding them, and since the seller does not foresee a conflict arising from his pit and cistern being located adjacent to the buyer's property, he therefore transfers the entire land. But in the case of the retaining trees,